Alright guys, Otaku Phil here, giving you an update on my greyhound journey. For those who are interested, I figured I'd make this little update video. I'm now at the end of my first week of working the extra board for greyhound. For those who don't know or are interested or curious about the whole greyhound process, it's now the 5th of November 2018. And basically, when you first join, or when you first get on the, when you first get onto Greyhound, you go through training, and then you are what's called extra board. So when you see those, like the video where it tells you you have to be on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that's what's called extra board. So when you're extra board, you basically work filling in. You know, if there's a run that, if there's a route or a run that needs to get done, and let's say the regular driver has to call out because he's sick or because he's broken down or he's running out or someone's run out of hours, you take that extra work. And because there is a shortage of drivers, there is no shortage of extra work, right? Yeah, it's crazy. You will work. You'll work. But the other thing that makes it great is you make extra money doing those things. So, if you have to stay out longer, you get extra money, you get food, you get all that extra stuff. You can literally go wherever. They can call you and say, hey, I'm in LA. So they're like, okay, we need you to drive to Vegas, which is pretty much what I did. So basically, I'll tell you what I did. So this first week, my first week of the extra board, I drove from Los Angeles down to San Ysidro and the Tijuana border. And I drove the schedule to where I drove down there and there was a gap to where I literally just sat there and had to wait for the next schedule coming back up. Well, it was like 3 hours. So I literally sat in San Ysidro. I got something to eat and just like sat in the bus for 3 hours. But I got extra pay for that. I got paid for that time I had to sit in the bus and just wait for it to come, or wait for the schedule to come up. So I got paid for that, which was cool. And I was early, so they gave me extra pay for being early. They give you a couple bucks. I think it's like $5-6. Every time you're early, you report on time without having to skip or whatever. So I did that, and I came back to LA, and then the next day I drove from LA to Vegas, and that schedule was late, and it was because of traffic. And because it was late because of traffic, I got paid for sitting in traffic. Yeah, they paid me the extra time for sitting in traffic, which was cool. So I spent the night in Vegas, and then they were getting ready to send me back, but then one of their regular drivers, or one of their extra board drivers actually, was supposed to fill in for this guy to go up to Green River, Utah, but he didn't want to do it. So they just asked me. They were like, do you want to go back to LA or do you want to go up to Utah? Because if you go up to Utah, you'll be out for the second day and you get what's called a second rest. So basically, anytime you're outside of your normal area and you don't go home, they pay you an extra $50 a day, additional day after the second day that you have to stay out from home. So basically, that first night in Vegas was my first night. If I'd have went straight back to LA, I wouldn't have got any extra pay. But because I had to go up to Green River, and then I went from Green River to Denver, I got paid an extra $50 a day plus an additional $30 a day for food on top of the amount of money I made for driving that route. And basically what that equated to was driving from LA to Vegas with the traffic. It took me like around 6 hours, almost 7 hours. And I only got paid, I think, like around 150 bucks for that route. But when I drove from Las Vegas to Green River, which took me about 6 hours and change, I made and $90, and I still have to put in the request to add the food voucher. So when that's all said and done, I would have made, $210. So I drove from, so I basically drove from Las Vegas to Green River, Utah, and it was pretty standard. It was kind of boring. A couple of little small towns. Nothing really spectacular happened. And then the next day, I drove from Green River, Utah, up to Denver, Colorado, and that's when things got interesting, because it was pretty par for the course. I got up to Grand Junction, and I had a lady with a wheelchair, so I had to load the wheelchair, which was a first for me. They taught us how to do it, but this was the first time I actually had to do it on my own. So that was cool. It wasn't that big a deal. But as I started to get up to the mountains, the Colorado mountains, and I got to like Vail, and I keep messing it up. I think it's called like Loveless or Love Lost Pass or whatever. Completely covered in snow. I had to stop. I had to put chains on the bus. I had to I ended up being like 2 hours late going out because of just the traffic and just the snow. It was so bad. It was so bad. It was a long day. It was supposed to be like a 7 or 6.5 hour trip. When I was done, it was like 9.5 hours that I put in. So then I spent the night in Denver, and then I was supposed to pick up a bus coming from New York, going back to Green River, spend the night in Green River, and then back to Vegas. So the bus from New York was like 5 hours late. It was 5 hours late. So they were just like, all right, just take another bus. And I ended up being like 3 hours late, right? But then I got back to those passes in Vail and Loveless or Love whatever, and they were completely snowed in. Like, it was so bad that right behind us, there was a bunch of cars just driving like maybe like 10, 20 miles an hour, if that. And right behind us was the highway patrol, and they literally shut down the highway right behind us because it got so bad. Like, we were afraid that I had to stop in Vail to let off a passenger, and I was afraid that we were going to get stuck in Vail. Like, we were going to get to Vail. It was covered in snow. The bus got stuck in the snow like twice, and I had to like back and jimmy it out and lift up the tagged wheel to get it out. And it was just crazy. It was real crazy. And then it was a bunch of canyons and downhills that pretty much I had to drive like 10 to 20 miles an hour just to get down. But finally got back to Green River. I was supposed to be here at like 10 o'clock, and I got here at like 1:30 in the morning. Now, when I tell you that they'll work you, I'm going to show you my logs. So these are my logs, and we have an electronic log, right? And if you know anything about being a trucker, or if you like drive trucks or buses, let's see if I can get it in focus. Ugh, it doesn't want to focus for me. Come on, get in focus. Maybe if I hold it here. Alright, I can't get it in focus very well. But, so in your logs, if you're a driver, you have federal laws. And the federal law says that you can't drive more than 10 hours a day. You can't work driving or non-driving more than 15 hours a day. And you can't work more than 70 hours in an 8-day span. Right? And on my log, under my 10-hour driving, I have 2 hours left. Under my 15-hour, I got 2 hours and 19 minutes. And under my 70-hour, under my 70 hours from past 8 days, I have 2 hours and 40 minutes left. That's how much work I have put in this past week. Yeah, see, it's all in the reds because it's supposed to be in the greens, meaning that I have plenty of hours. So hopefully tomorrow I'll pick up some more hours. The 15 and the 10, that resets every 9 hours of rest. That will reset. So once I get fresh after being resting for technically 8 hours, but Greyhound gives you 9 hours, then those will reset. But hopefully I'll get enough hours, added to my schedule that I can work tomorrow. If not, they'll just have me sit here in Greenville for the day, and they'll pay me to be here. Um, yeah, and then they canceled my schedule going back to Vegas because I was supposed to pick up another bus coming from New York. That same another New York schedule was supposed to come through, but they closed it. So hopefully tomorrow they'll reopen it and I'll be able to take the bus back. If not, I'm gonna be spending the day here, and it's gonna be crazy. So with all that said and done, I'm sure people are curious exactly how much did I make in my first week, killing myself with all those hours. So first thing to remember is a lot of those hours were actually just me sitting around. Like today, the bus, I had a report time of 12, of like 11 o'clock, because the bus was supposed to leave by 12:15. But then they knew that it was behind, so they were like, come to work and report to work at like 1 o'clock. So I got there at 1 o'clock, and pretty much the bus, we didn't even leave until like 3:20. So they paid me to just sit there and wait until they knew for sure the schedule was going to be extremely late, and they just wanted me to take the people that I had. So I got paid for that, and I've had a good number of times what they call protection, where basically they put you on a schedule, but they're not sure when the schedule's going to leave, or even if you're going to leave with that schedule. So they have you come in just in case they need you, and then they pay you for that time. So I got a lot of protection hours, or not a lot. I got a good number of protection hours, and then a good number of driving hours. You know, a lot of times I didn't drive more than maybe like 6 hours a day. 6 or 7 hours. Barely a day's worth of work. But then I had like 3 or 4 hours of protection, or 3 or 4 hours where I had to wait for the schedule or load passengers, and you get paid for all that. But so right now I have unadjusted pay. So basically, I haven't added my meals. I haven't added the extra pay for the traffic and stuff like that. And according to my payroll sheet, they give you every time you do a run, they tell you how much you get paid and what you get paid for, and the rates and all that stuff. So in the past 7 days, I have made around, let's see, I made around $1,100 in the past 7 days, and then I didn't work on Wednesday. So technically 6 days. In 6 days of working, I've made $1,100, which is it's okay. It's not great. I'm still at the lowest end of the pay rate. I still only make like 20. I make $20.40 an hour. I'm still at the lowest, but I still made $1,100 in 6 days, which is not bad. And one of those days, I didn't even work. Like, they had me come in and I filled out paperwork, and then I didn't do anything, and they fill out some paperwork and sat around, and they gave me $100 for that day. So technically it's 5 days plus an hour worth of work. I made $1,100. Now, because I had those adjusted times, and I had the meal pays and the second rest days, when all said and done, I would make about a little over $1,300 in the past 5 days plus the 1 hour for that one day I came in worth of work, which isn't bad. So you definitely make more money if you stay out and away from home longer, which isn't bad. It's some long days, it's some long hours driving, but it's cool. You get to see a lot of different places. I've never been to Denver. I've never been through the pass, so it was fun, just to see all that, and you make good money. So I'll keep you guys updated, but just letting you know exactly how my first week went and how everything went down. And everybody's been super cool. They give you the route guide, and the route guide basically tells you how to get everywhere. And I've had a couple times where I had to break out my GPS just to figure out, because the route guides didn't make any sense. I got lost once. I had a bus breakdown, and they had to bring out another bus to replace it. I had the wheelchair. I had to put chains on the tires driving through the mountains. So it was definitely an experience of a week. I've had passengers be pissed at me. When we came through the snow, it was so treacherous. I literally had like 2 or 3 passengers come up and hug to me. They just hugged me. saying thank you for your safe driving and getting us there safe, because we were so afraid, because literally we couldn't, it was snowing so hard that you couldn't see more than like 2 cars ahead of you. Like, it was really bad. So it was pretty crazy, pretty crazy. So I'll keep you guys updated. You know, if I go somewhere cool, maybe when I get back down to Texas, maybe I'll see about maybe going to, or when I get back down to Vegas, maybe I'll see about going to Texas or something. Or if anything, I'll head on home and then maybe do a Sacramento, or maybe go up to Portland and try to get some of that money. All right. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to follow up, leave it down in the comments, or message me directly, and I'll keep you guys posted. So I got a new motor for. As far as my other projects go, I'm considering putting in a turbo motor in my Beetle, and the only reason I haven't done that yet is because then I got to change out the transmission, and that's a whole nother thing. But now I'm making a little more money. Maybe I'll put the better transmission in there. And this time what I was going to do is I was going to buy a used turbo motor for like around $1,100 and just have it rebuilt, completely rebuilt. Probably going to run me like another 1,500 to $2,000. So budgeting about $3,000 for a fully rebuilt motor. And then I'm gonna probably get like the Pro Street Freeway Flyer transmission for my Beetle, and that's gonna run me like $1,000, anywhere from 500 to $1,000. 500 if I get it built, $1,000 if I just buy it right out. So hopefully, when I get some time, I'll start doing some more work on that. Again, if you guys got any questions, leave it down in the comments, and talk to you guys later.